about genes and how they determine our physical features. Genes are inside the DNA molecule and they carry information that determines your traits, like your hair color. We get half of each of our parents' DNA, which means we have 2 copies of every gene. Each cell in the human body has between 25,000 and 35,000 genes. Genes are not only found in humans, but plants and animals too. An allele is a specific pattern in a gene that determines the characteristics you inherit from your parents. For example, in a gene that determines your hair color, the allele is the specific pattern of the gene that causes the hair to look that certain color. When you have 2 identical alleles, you are homozygous for that gene. But when you have 2 different alleles, you are heterozygous for that gene. The pair of letters are called the genotype, and the physical features that we can see and observe, like our eye color, are called phenotypes. Keep this in mind as we look at a diagram to help us better understand alleles. The squares you see on the left is called a Punnett square, which is used to predict all the possible combinations of genes from the parents. The allele with the capital letter is the dominant allele, and the allele with the lowercase letter is the recessive allele. In this case, the allele for brown eyes is dominant, and the allele for blue eyes is recessive. If the genotype is 2 capital B's, then it is homozygous and the phenotype is brown eyes. If the genotype is 1 lowercase b and 1 capital B, then it is heterozygous, and because the brown allele is dominant over the blue allele, the phenotype will be brown eyes. If the genotype is 2 lowercase b's, then it is homozygous and the phenotype is blue eyes. So if a heterozygous parent with brown eyes and a homozygous parent with blue eyes have a baby, there is a 50% chance that their baby will have brown eyes and a 50% chance that the baby will have blue eyes.
Let's further explore these interactions between dominant and recessive alleles in an activity. For our materials, we'll need a face template, 2 coins, and some coloring tools. We will also be referring to this list of traits, categorized by whether a trait is represented by a dominant allele or recessive allele. Running through this list, we have that right-handedness is dominant, while left-handedness is recessive. Being able to roll your tongue is dominant, while not being able to roll your tongue is recessive. Having dark hair is dominant, while having light hair is recessive. And that having a dark eye color is dominant, while having a light eye color is recessive. For each trait on our list, we will flip each of our 2 coins once. If we flip heads, then it represents the dominant allele for that trait. Likewise, if we flip tails, then it represents the recessive allele for that trait. With our 2 alleles, we can then determine what trait is being expressed and what we can draw on our face. When you've finished, it might be interesting to reflect on what kind of traits you managed to get, and see if they make sense with respect to both allele dominance and the flips that you got. Hopefully this activity has helped you gain a better understanding of how traits are passed down with respect to dominant and recessive alleles.